Hello everyone. So I welcome you all on this new lecture series. So in this lecture series we are going to deal with the new subject called solid mechanics. In many universities this subject is also called as strength of materials. This lecture series will be very helpful for all the mechanical engineering students as well as civil engineering students, because this subject is also the part of civil engineering, as well as the aspirants who are preparing for the higher education examination like GATE or IES, because in GATE every year 3 to 4 marks problems are asked from this subject only. Okay, of course not all the topics are included in the GATE syllabus also, but most of the topics are there in the GATE syllabus also. Okay, so in this lecture series we'll deal with entire syllabus, entire topics of strength of materials or solid mechanics. Okay, so before starting this subject, let's understand why we should learn this subject. Definitely, whenever we start study any new subject, we should know the answer of two questions, that is what and what. So what we study in this particular subject, or why we study this particular subject. So let's try to answer the first question, that what we are going to study in this subject. Okay, so this subject, this solid mechanics subject, in this solid mechanics subject we are going to study the forces. What we are going to study? We are going to study forces on the body and its effect on the body. So we will apply the forces on certain body and we'll see what are the different effect of those forces on this particular body. Whether we'll find out the stress on the body, we'll find out the strains on the body, we'll find out the slope and deflection on the body, we'll find out that this particular body can sustain this amount of force or not. So we'll find out all these things in this subject. Now the question is body. There are different type of body. Which type of body we should consider? Because if we'll see, we have rigid bodies, we have deformable bodies, and we have fluid also. So ऐसा है क्या किसी भी बॉडी में स्टडी करेंगे तो उसको सॉलिड मैकेनिक्स बोलेंगे? No, not that. That is not concept. So we'll study the forces on the body, but only the deformable bodies. Okay, so we can say in solid mechanics subject we are going to study the forces on deformable bodies only. Okay, so forces on deformable bodies will be a solid mechanics. If we study the forces on the rigid body, so rigid body is those bodies whose deformation is not there. For any amount of force it will not deform. So hypothetically there is no body in the universe which is 100% rigid. So rigid body, forces in the rigid body we study in engineering mechanics. So that we have studied in the first year of engineering. Now forces on the body which is a fluidic one. So this will be subject called FM, that is called as fluid mechanics. That maybe you will study in second year. Okay, so in solid mechanics or in strength of materials we are going to study the forces on deformable bodies only. Okay, so this study is limited to finding out the forces and its effect only. We are not going to design any new component in this particular subject. Okay, so we'll restrict our study up to the forces and its effect. Okay, now let's try to answer the second one, that is why we study this particular subject. Because this subject is a very basic subject for designing. Whenever you want to design any component, let's say I want to design a chair. So whenever I want to design a chair, I should know what is the value of force that this chair is going to transmit, this chair is going to bear. Okay, so whenever I want to design any component, I should know the result of different forces which were acting on that component and what will be the effect of those forces on that particular component. And we know all the components we see in our day-to-day life, this all components are made up of the deformable bodies only. There is no rigid body in the, no 100% rigid body is in the entire universe. All the materials are made up of the deformable bodies only. So that is why we study this particular subject, to understand what is the effect of that particular force on the body. Okay, so let's start the first topic of this subject. So the first topic of this subject will be a simple stress and strain. The first module will start with simple stress and strain. Okay, so that is our first module. So this module will take almost 7 to 8 lectures to 8 to 9 lectures to complete the entire module. So let's start with the first topic, that is called as simple stress and strain. Let's understand this first term, that is called as stress. Okay, so before studying the stress, we should know what is the force first of all. So tell me, what is the force? So we know the force is any entity which changes the position of body or which tries to change the position of body. So that is called as force, and the unit of force will be Newton. The SI unit of force will be always Newton. Okay, so based on this force only we'll try to understand what is stress. क्या होता है stress? What is stress? Whenever we'll apply certain force on a body, it because of adhesion of the body, because of cohesion of the body, it restricts, it rejects that motion. Let's say we have one body, one cylindrical body we have, let's say, and we are applying the force P here, or force P on both sides of the body. So because of this force P, what will happen? This body tries to elongate, but due to the internal molecular bonding, this molecular bonding will restrict this elongation, will try to restrict this elongation. Okay, so this restriction of elongation is because of the resistance of the molecule. Okay, so if you cut down this section from here, okay, let's say that you are cutting this body from X section. So let's draw the left side. So this is the left side of section, so force P is acting here, and this is the right side of section, so here also the force P is acting. Okay, so on this left side of section, this one force will acting, that is called as resistance force. Because of this resistance force only, this object will not be a two part. Okay, so here also one resistance force will act. Okay, so coming back to the definition of stress, so stress will be nothing but the resistance force per unit cross sectional area. So stress will be equals to resistance force per unit cross section area. That will be the value of stress. So stress will generally represent the stress by sigma, and the value of resistance force is R upon cross section area is A. So this R upon A will be the stress, and the value of R will be equals to P only, that is applied force up to certain limit only, up to limit where the material is not breaking, up to the elastic limit only. After that limit the material will break, and this R will not be equals to P. If the resistance force is less than or equals to P, or you can say the resistance force is more than or equals to P, then only your material will be as it is, it will not break. If the value of resistance force is less and the value of applied force is more, your material will break. In that case, this R will not be equals to P. So for maintaining it in equilibrium position, the value of R should be equals to P upon P. So this should be the value of stress, the definition of stress. Okay, so the value of P, the force, that will be always in Newton, or let's say in the new topic, that is unit of stress. Okay, so value of P, the load value P will be in the Newton, and the value of A, that is area. Area will be represented in meter, so Newton meter square. So Newton per meter square will be the unit of stress. और इसी न्यूटन पर मीटर स्क्वायर को अपन लिख सकते हैं, that is called as Pascal also. Okay, so we can derive some reduced unit also. Let's say this one. So we'll derive some reduced unit also. So let's say 1 kilopascal. This kilo means you have to do 10 raised to power 3. So that will be equals to 10 raised to power 3 Newton per meter square. You can say 1 megapascal. So that will be equals to 10 raised to power 6 Newton per meter square. Okay, so this is 10 raised to power 6 Newton per meter square. So if you convert this meter into mm, so 1 meter will be equals to 10 raised to power 3 mm. So if we do it here, we will solve this one. So 10 raised to power 6 Newton per 10 raised to power 6 mm square, and this will be cancelled out. So finally you will have 1 megapascal is equals to 1 Newton per mm square. Just remember this unit conversion. This unit conversion is very important, because whenever we solve the numericals of this subject is very easy if you are clear with the concept of units. Okay, so this is all about the topic stress. Now we'll see the next topic, that is called as strains. Now let's see the definition of strains. Second part, that is strain. So strain will be represented by epsilon here. So the basic definition of strain is nothing but the change of dimensions upon original dimensions. Change in, or for change I am writing delta, for change in dimension upon dimension, that will be called as strain. So change in dimension upon original dimension will be called as strain. So the change in dimension can be in the linear direction also, or can be in the lateral direction also. The length can be increased or length can be decreased, or diameter can be increased or decreased. So जिस भी रिस्पेक्टिव पर निकालेंगे उस रिस्पेक्टिव में क्या लेना पड़ेगा, चेंज इन डायमेंशन अपॉन ओरिजिनल डायमेंशन. That will be the definition of strain. So if we'll consider the same example, that this object is there, and if you are applying the force P here, the similar example that we have seen for stress, the force P you are applying on both sides. So this forces are called as tensile forces. So and the length of object was L. Okay, so because of this applied force, the length of object may increase because this force is acting in the tensile direction. So the length of object may increase. Let's suppose after a certain time the length of object is increased, and this will become this. So this extra amount is nothing but called as change in dimension. So that change in dimension can be represented by delta L, and actual length of object will be L. So this delta L by L will be called as strain. Strain, or you can say strain in x direction. Strain, normal strain we call it actually. So we'll see what is the normal strain and other strain. So let's concentrate on the unit of it. So it's change in length upon original length. Length upon length means what? It will be always a unit less quantity. Okay, so strain will be always a unit less quantity. Okay, so these are only the basic definitions. So now we'll see the type of stresses and strains. So let's understand the first, what is the type of, what are the different type of stresses. So types of stresses. Types of stress. Let's first of all we'll see for type of strain, and correspondingly we will see the strength also. So actually there are two type of stress. One is called as normal stress and one will be called as shearing stress. Normal stress and shear stress. Again, normal stress can be classified into two categories, that will be called as tensile stress and that will be called as compressive stress, and shearing stress is shearing stress. So from each stress the same type of strain is also associated. Let's say you have tensile stress, so according to tensile stress the strain will be there, that will be called as tensile strain. If stress is compressive stress, the strain will be called as compressive strain. If shear stress is there, then strain will be called as shear strain. So we'll see one by one what is tensile and what is shearing stress. So tensile stress क्या होता है, जो अभी आपने देखा था फर्स्ट स्ट्रेस. सो टेंसाइल स्ट्रेस, इन दोनों स्ट्रेस में क्या होता है पर नॉर्मल स्ट्रेस मींस व्हाट, the force applied in this type of stress will be normal to its cross sectional area. So if this was the cross section area, this is the cross section area you have, let's say this is the cross section area we have. Okay, so this is nothing but your cross sectional area. So for finding out the normal stresses you have to apply the forces always normal to the cross sectional area. So this will be the force P, let's suppose, and let's say this is the x value, this is y value, and this is z value. Okay, so if you find out the value of stress here, so this value of stress will be P, or you can say resistance also, but we'll see the force will always equals to resistance. So this is the force upon cross sectional area. So this cross sectional area you should consider. So this cross sectional area will be equal to y into z. So that will be called as normal tensile stress. If the force is in the tensile direction, means what? Force is in tensile direction means what? You are increasing the length of object. Okay, so this will be called as normal stress. And if the force is in the compressive direction, so the value will be same, no changes in the value, only this stress will be called as compressive stress. Let's suppose on this cross section area only this force is acting in the compressive direction. In this means what, you are trying to reduce the length of the object, so this will be called as again the compressive normal stress. Okay, now in the same manner, if you are applying the forces parallel to any surface, parallel to, let's say, top surface, you are applying the forces. Like example of this will be, let's suppose one plate is there and second plate is lapped on the first plate, and you have applied and you have inserted one rivet over here. Okay, so let's say we have inserted one rivet over here. So if you apply the force P in this direction and force P in this direction, this rivet will have, this section will have a shearing force. Means what? Because of these two forces, the resultant will be parallel to this particular plane. So this plane will try to shear off. Okay, so this type of forces is called as shearing force, and the stress generated because of these forces will be called as shearing stress. Okay, the shearing stress will represent this shearing stress by the value called tau, and the value of this shearing stress will be again force upon area, but that will be a shearing force upon sheared area. Let's see this one, the value of it. So let's suppose we have same object, similar kind of object we have. Let's suppose this rectangular block we have, and this rectangular block we have fixed on the table. On one table we have fixed it. Let's say A, B, C, D is the rectangle. This is the front view of the rectangular box, and you can say there is some thickness also. Okay, so this is the rectangular block. We have some thickness also, with some thickness. Okay, so if you apply A, this was B. Okay, So if you apply the force on this particular surface, on this particular top surface, then this will be called as shearing force, and this value of shearing force, let's call it P1, not P we have mentioned over there. So this shearing force P1, so if you find out the value of shearing stress, that is value of tau, so this value of tau will be the value of shearing force, that is equals to P divided by sheared area you have to consider. Okay, so if you apply the force here, this top surface area will be the sheared area. So if this entire area you have to consider as your sheared area, but not the normal area. Okay, so let's suppose this height was L and this is X and this is Y. Your sheared area will be X into Y. So this will be the value of sheared area. Okay, so from this only we can find out the value of shearing strain also. So if you apply the force here, this force P1, if you apply, this top surface will try to dislocate on the right side, because this bottom surface is a fixed one. So if the top surface will dislocate, so this A point will come somewhere here. So this will be called as, let's suppose, A dash we are assuming, A dash. So this will be the new block. This B will come somewhere here. So this point will be called as B dash. Okay, so this is L and this is nothing but the change in length, let me call as DL. Okay, and this angle between them is called as phi, that is called as shear strain. Okay, so if I want to find out the value of tan phi, the value of tan phi is what? Perpendicular upon base. So this perpendicular is DL upon base is L, and the value of tan phi is, this phi value is very small. So for very small angle of tan phi, this tan phi will be almost equals to phi. So phi will be equals to DL upon L, and this phi is nothing but your shearing strain. Okay, so that is DL upon L, again unitless quantity, but in shearing strain, if this is an angle in angular form, so we'll represent this phi in radians in numerical. The value of phi will be always given in the radians. Okay, so now we'll see the next topic, that is called as elasticity and plasticity. Okay. So we have seen all the values, all the definitions of stress and strain. Now we'll see one interesting topic, that is called as elasticity. So elasticity is an inherent property of a material. So because of this property of the material, whenever we apply the forces on the body up to certain limit, and after removal of those forces, the body will regain its original shape. That property is called as elasticity. Let's say we have any bar, any circular bar we have, and we are applying the force P here. A tensile force P we are applying. So up to certain limit of force P, after removal of that force, up to certain limit the body will elongate, and after certain limit, if you remove the force P, the body will regain its original shape. So that property of body is called as elasticity. Okay, if the same body is not able to regain its original shape, that will be called as the plasticity. Okay, like example is normal rubber band we use. If you apply the force on the rubber band and if you remove the force, it will regain its original shape. So rubber band is called as the elastic material. Okay, so this is nothing but the elasticity. So this elasticity will be, this concept of elasticity will be very helpful for understanding the relationship between stress and strain, because we have studied all the things about stress and strain. Now we should understand what is the relationship between them. So for defining the relationship between stress and strain, one law is there. That law is called as Hooke's law. So Hooke's law states that the stress is always directly proportional to strain. Whenever we'll apply the force on the body, the stress generated in the body will be proportional to stress up to elastic limit. Means what? Up to the limit where the material will regain its original shape, up to that limit only the material's stress generated will be always directly proportional to strain in the body. So obviously this stress is nothing but the normal stress, and this strain will also a normal strain only, not the shearing strain. So this Hooke's law is valid for normal stress to normal strain. The other stress can also be this, but for normal stress and normal strain we'll define the property called elasticity. Okay, so if we'll remove this constant of proportionality, so this stress in normal direction will be equals to E and L. The value of E will be equals to stress in normal direction upon strain in normal direction. So this E is called as Young's modulus of elasticity. Young's modulus of elasticity. See, this Young's modulus of elasticity is very important from the material point of view. Based on this only, we'll select the material for designing purpose, for different designing purpose. We'll see this Young's modulus of elasticity later on. Let's understand the unit of it. So unit of this will be Newton. Unit of stress. Unit of stress is nothing but Newton per meter square, that is Pascal. Newton per meter. Unit of strain is unit as quantity. So unit of Young's modulus will be always Newton per meter square, or the derived unit of this one, Newton per meter square. Maybe in the it's the Pascal only, no? So maybe in the megapascal, maybe in the gigapascal, the value could be given to you. Okay. So now after the Hooke's law, let's understand one more thing that is called as factor of safety. So whenever we design any component, we always put certain amount of factor of safety. We always put certain amount of safety for designing that component. So that factor of safety, the definition of factor of safety is also important. That factor of safety will be always ultimate stress upon permissible stress. So factor of safety will always consider for designing any component. Let's say अपन कोई bench design किए. So this bench is designed for sitting of 2 persons, but there are certain factor of safety also. So more than 2 or 3 or 4 persons can sit on the bench. Okay, so that is nothing but a factor of safety. This bench material will not break, so that is a factor of safety we have. Okay, now after all the study of stress and strains, now we'll try to find out the correlationship or relationship between those stress and strains, and this relationship part is very important from higher engineering, higher examination point of view also. Okay, because in GATE examination, from questions from this relationship are generally asked. Okay, so we'll see for 3 different cases. We'll see for 1D objects, we'll see for 2D objects, and we'll see for 3-dimensional objects also. So let's start with the first, that is 1-dimensional forces, 1-dimensional objects. Let me write down. So relationship between stress and strain we are going to see. So 1-dimensional object means what? Force is acting only in the single direction. So let's say we have one rectangular block, and this rectangular block is having a 0 thickness or unity thickness, and we are applying the forces only in the one direction. Force P only we are applying. Okay, so because of this force P, you are supposed to find out the relationship between the stress and strain, or you are supposed to find out the value of strain, you can see. So for forces only in the one direction, the value of strain can be calculated using the Hooke's law, and that value will be always stress upon Young's modulus of elasticity. So this relationship we have calculated from the Hooke's law only. That strain will be equals to stress upon Young's modulus only for 1D object, that is only forces acting in single direction, that we have already seen. Now let's concentrate on the second one, that is very important, that is 2D objects. Now what will happen? Now the force will be applied on both x as well as y direction. So let's suppose here we have certain object, a rectangular block again, and we are applying the forces on the x direction as well as in the y direction. So force Px we are applying on the x direction. So because of force P, so stress is generated, that is also called as sigma x. So sigma x stress is there in the, it's a generated stress, not applied stress. Sigma x stress is there in the x direction. Similarly, sigma y stress is there in the y direction. So for maintaining equilibrium, let's apply here also sigma x and sigma y. So now you are applying the stresses, or you are applying the forces on x as well as y direction. Now you are supposed to find out the value of total strain in x direction as well as the value of total strain in y direction, that you are supposed to find out. Means what? Because of these forces, what is the net change in length in x direction and what is the net change in length in y direction? Okay, so that we are supposed to find out. But before finding out this thing, we should understand one more concept. That concept is called as concept of Poisson's ratio. So let's see what is Poisson's ratio. Poisson's ratio. So this Poisson's ratio will be represented by mu, or in many books that can be represented by nu also. Poisson's ratio. Okay, in many books it represented by 1 upon m also. ऐसा भी कहीं पे represent करते हैं Poisson's ratio, 1 upon m or mu or nu. These are the different representation in different books of Indian and foreign authors. Okay, so let's understand what is Poisson's ratio. So Poisson's ratio is nothing but a ratio of two strains, that is called as lateral strain to the longitudinal strain. So it's a ratio of two strains. First is lateral strain to the longitudinal strain, and with always a negative sign. So negative sign of lateral strain to the longitudinal strain is nothing but called as Poisson's ratio. Okay, so now we'll understand what is actually the lateral strain and longitudinal strain. So let's see, we have one again same example, same rectangular block we have. Okay, so if we'll apply the force on this rectangular block, let's understand first of all what is the lateral and longitudinal first of all. So this is nothing but the axis of this rectangular block. So if you apply the force along the axis of the block, so for this particular direction of force, this will be called as longitudinal direction, and perpendicular to this one will be called as lateral direction. So perpendicular to this one will be y as well as z direction. So both direction will be called as lateral, that is y as well as z. Okay, so why this, what is lateral strain actually? So क्या होता है जब भी अपन इस पे फोर्स अप्लाई करेंगे, suppose this object will have certain thickness also. Let's draw it here also. Okay, so let's say this is the length of the object L, and this is you can say x direction, and this is, let's say, y direction. you can say B and W also, width and breadth also. So that is x and this is y, and this is nothing but your cross section. Perpendicular to that cross section, we have applied the force in longitudinal direction. Okay, so this length is x and this length is y, and total length is L. So, so whenever we apply the force P on this tensile direction, definitely this object will elongate. Means what? The length of object will definitely increase. Clear? Right? So if we find out the value of longitudinal strain, if we find out the value of longitudinal strain, so that will be always a delta L upon L because length is increasing. Now what about lateral strain? Lateral strain क्या होगा इसके लिए? So lateral strain will be the change in its height upon original height. So obviously change in its height will be definitely reduced because height is, if length is increasing, definitely height will reduce. Okay, so lateral strain, if you find out the lateral strain for this particular problem, so that will be delta y upon longitudinal will be delta L upon L, or in other way you can say delta, sorry, so delta x upon x or delta L upon L. So that will be negative value of this one. And why the negative value? Because if length is increasing, definitely y and z is decreasing, or if length is decreasing, other parameter will increase. If the force is in the opposite direction, so length will reduce and its y and z will also, y and x is increase. Okay, so both are in opposite manner, that's why we apply the negative sign over. Okay, one more important thing is in many online examinations or many competitive examination, they asked what is the maximum or minimum possible value of mu you have. So the value of mu ranges from 0. Negative of mu is not possible because negative value is there. So this negative sign only indicates that this length or height will be opposite to each other. That is only the importance of negative sign. The value, this is a constant, mu is a constant, so constant cannot be a negative value. So the value of mu will be from 0 to maximum value. Maximum it can vary for 0.5, that is for ideal rubber. Okay, not more than 0.5, because जब भी अपना लेंथ इंक्रीज होगा उसका कुछ ना कुछ 50% कंट्रीब्यूशन किस पे जाएगा, उसका विड्थ में, एंड 50% कंट्रीब्यूशन किस पे जाएगा, उसके हाइट पे. सो दैट्स व्हाई this mu, the maximum and minimum value is from 0 to 0.5. This is the range for the value of Poisson's ratio. ना mu से कम होगा ना 0.5 से ज्यादा होगा. mu किसके लिए होगा? That is 100% rigid materials, जिसका कभी भी deformation नहीं होता. So that is hypothetical again, because no material in the universe which is 100% rigid. Okay, and 0.5 किसके लिए होगा? That is ideal rubber के लिए. So this will be the highest and lowest value of mu. Okay, so now we'll find out this mu value. Mu value is nothing but lateral strain upon longitudinal strain. So अगर longitudinal strain को आपने x से represent किया है and lateral strain को अगर आपने y direction पे बोला है या फिर z direction पे बोला है, so you can say this mu is nothing but negative of lateral strain upon longitudinal strain, that is epsilon y upon epsilon x. Again I am repeating, this is lateral because we are applying the force in the x direction. If you apply the force on this direction, for this particular direction, this horizontal will be the lateral and this will be the longitudinal. So जिस डायरेक्शन पे आप फोर्स अप्लाई करेंगे उस डायरेक्शन को आप लॉन्जिट्यूडनल लेंगे एंड उसके परपेंडिकुलर सारे डायरेक्शंस को आप क्या लेंगे? लैटरल लेंगे. Okay, so coming back to here, so this concept we are going to use here for finding out the value of epsilon x and epsilon y. Let's see this one, how we can find out. So based on this concept of Poisson's ratio, we are interested in finding out the value of total strain in x direction as well as total strain in y direction. So for that particular problem, for finding out these two values, we have considered one rectangular blocks and we'll remove the one force first of all. So we'll apply the forces only in the one direction. So let's apply the force in this px direction only. So let's apply the force in x direction only. Now tell me, what is the effect of this force? So this force P in the x direction will give you the strain in two directions. One will be the longitudinal strain, one will be the lateral strain. So because of this Px force, total strain in x direction कितना होगा? So I'll write down the strain in x direction 1. Okay, so this Px force, because of this Px force, strain in x direction कितना होगा? So that is nothing but the stress upon Young's modulus, this. Okay, now because of this Px force only, there will be one more strain, and that will be in the y direction. Clear? So that strain, that is strain in y direction because of first force, that's because of this x force, strain in y direction का value कितना होगा? So that value can be calculated based on the Poisson's ratio, because we know the Poisson's ratio mu will be strain in y direction upon strain in x direction with negative sign. So that will be equals to negative of Poisson's ratio into epsilon x1, and that will be equals to negative of Poisson's ratio into sigma x1 sigma x upon Young's modulus E. Okay, so this is the amount of two strains, that is strain in x direction as well as strain in y direction because of this force x only. Okay, here I want to find out the total strain in x direction and total strain in y direction. So now if I apply one more force, that is Py also. So if you apply one more force Py also, so because of this Py force, now you don't consider the force Px. Now force Px is not applied here. Only force Py is applied, let's say. So because of this force Py, this will become a linear direction or longitudinal direction now, and this will become a lateral direction. Okay, so because of this Py force, there will be some force on some strain in the y direction only. So strain in y direction because of 2, that is second force, इसका वैल्यू कितना होगा? That will be sigma y upon Young's modulus E. Okay, now this is the strain in y direction, because this strain is because of forces in the y direction, that is longitudinal one. Now because of this only, there will be certain reduction in the length also. So certain strain in the lateral x direction also. So that strain will be epsilon x2, let's suppose, and that value will be again based on this only. So for this particular case, if the forces is acting in the y direction, for this particular case, the Poisson's ratio value will be minus of epsilon x upon epsilon y, because this epsilon x is nothing but your lateral and this y is now longitudinal direction. Okay, for this Py force. Okay, so if you consider this one, so minus of mu times of epsilon y, or epsilon y2 you can say, so minus of mu times of sigma y upon Young's modulus E you have. Okay, so now we have all 1, 2, 3 and all 4 component of forces. Now you are supposed to find out the total value of x, epsilon in x direction. So total value of x will be epsilon x plus, epsilon x1 plus epsilon x2. If you add this one, so this will become sigma x upon Young's modulus E minus mu times of sigma y upon Young's modulus. Similarly, this is epsilon x. Now similarly, total strain in y direction can be calculated. Epsilon y will be this value plus this value here. So this will become sigma of y upon E minus mu times of sigma x upon E. So this will be the value of total strain in different directions. So total strain in x direction will be this one for 2D objects. Remember, only the forces we applying in the 2 directions. So this is sigma epsilon x and this is epsilon y. Okay. Similarly, we can find out for the 3D objects also. Let's see that one also, how we can find out for 3D objects also. For 3D objects, okay, for 3D objects, let's say we have one cubical box. Okay, so this cubical box we have, and on this cubical box we are applying the forces on all 3 x, y and z directions. So let's say one force is acting here, that is Px, and here also one force will act, that is Py, and here also this in bottom face. That is Pz. In all faces, this forces are act. This Px and Py and Pz. Okay, so because of this Px force, if you will not consider this Py and Pz at the starting, because of this Px force that we have seen in the previous 2D case also, because of this Px force, one epsilon x1 will act in the longitudinal direction, that is the value of sigma x upon E. Okay, the second component will be acting in the epsilon y direction in this, because y is the lateral for this one. So epsilon y कितना लगेगा इसके लिए? So that will be equals to minus mu times of epsilon x or minus mu times of sigma x upon Young's modulus E. And similarly, epsilon z1 will also be there, because z force is also there. Now you have considered the z direction also. So in z direction will be also a lateral one. So for lateral, you have to do minus of mu times of epsilon x. So that you have to do. Okay, or epsilon, instead of this one, you can write down sigma x upon E also. So these are the forces. These 3 strains are coming because of force Px only. Similarly, if you apply the force Py also, so force Py के कारण क्या होगा? Strain in x direction. Let's say strain 2 you can say. So because of this force P, because force P will be now in lateral one. So this is a longitudinal direction now. So इसके longitudinal होने के कारण क्या हो गया? ये Px lateral हो गया and ये Pz वाला डायरेक्शन भी लेटरल हो गया. सो ये अगर लेटरल है तो इसके लिए लेटरल स्ट्रेन कितना होगा? सो दैट विल बिकम माइनस ऑफ म्यू सिग्मा y अपॉन यंग्स मॉडुलस E, एंड सिग्मा y2 निकालेंगे. ये क्या हो गया? इसके लिए लॉन्जिट्यूडनल हो गया. सो दैट विल बिकम सिग्मा y अपॉन E ओनली, एंड द थर्ड वन सिग्मा z2 का निकालना है आपको. सो दैट विल अगेन लेटरल, सिग्मा y अपॉन E. Now we'll consider the third one, that is Pz also. So Pz जब consider करेंगे, so Pz के लिए क्या होगा? Now this will become longitudinal and this sigma x and Py will become lateral. So अगर इसके लिए lateral निकालेंगे, so lateral in x direction, because of this x direction पे कितना lateral strain आ रहा है, so that will again become minus of mu times of sigma z upon E. y भी क्या होगा इसके लिए लेटरल? सो दैट विल बी अगेन सिग्मा माइनस म्यू टाइम्स ऑफ सिग्मा z अपॉन E, एंड लास्ट वन दैट इज एप्सिलॉन z3, not 2, sorry, this will be 3. So this will become sigma z upon E only. Okay, so these are the total 9 component of strains are there. So total strain in x direction, if you are supposed to find out, so total strain in x direction, that will be summation of x1, epsilon x1, x2 and x3. So if you add all the things, then will become sigma x upon E, minus mu times of sigma y upon E minus mu times of sigma z upon E. This is the value we have. Okay, so that is nothing but strain in x direction, y direction, and strain in z direction. So total epsilon y you are supposed to find out, so that will become epsilon y upon E minus mu times of epsilon x upon E minus mu times of epsilon. So epsilon x, this one, and mu times of epsilon z upon E. And last one, epsilon z is nothing but sigma z upon E minus mu times of epsilon sigma x upon E minus mu times of sigma y upon. So these three are nothing but called as three value of strain in x, y and z direction because of this px, py and pz, the combined type of loading. Okay, so if any one component of stress is not given, let's say sigma z is not given here, so we'll put sigma z equals to 0. So we'll put sigma z 0 here, 0 here and 0 here, so it will have all the other values. If sigma z is not there, so this will be always reduced in nature. So ये आपको इक्वेशन को थोड़ा सा ध्यान से स्टडी करने से समझ में आएगा. If you apply the forces only in the x direction, so this is the tensile strain in x direction, and this will be two. This is a subtraction sign is there. Means what? Total this two value will be reduced, and this value will be a positive one. Okay. So this is all about the total strain in all the bodies. Okay. So we'll conclude the lecture here, and in the next lecture we'll start solving the numericals on this. We'll start solving the stepped beam and composite beams. We'll take the problems of stepped and continuous beams. Okay. Thank you very much.